Welcome to the Impact Nations podcast. My name is Tim. I am your host, and today I am once again joined by a fantastic panel to further discuss journeys of compassion. We did this a few weeks ago and had an absolute blast. In fact, we were having so much fun, we ended up rolling into a second episode. But even after 2 hours of content, we realized we still had one more thing that we needed to cover. So we're back for one more round. And I'll tell you about that topic in just a minute. But first, let me introduce you to our esteemed panelists. We've got a whole bunch of panelists today. Returning is our friend Heather Robinson. Last time Heather was with us, I hinted that we might have some news for you. And Heather, I checked with Bill, and he says that I've got permission to let the cat out of the bag a little bit here. So I'm happy to announce that Heather has officially joined the women's development team here at Impact Nations. So Heather, welcome to the team and welcome back to the Impact Nations podcast.
Thank you. I'm so excited.
I'm thrilled to have you back. Now, Heather's husband, Andrew, is celebrating a birthday today. So if Heather just disappears in an hour, it's because she's gone to make sure that the dinner party has some food and guests. Otherwise, it's not much of a dinner party.
Yes.
So we'll circle back to Heather, but let me keep going around the horn here. We've got our Director of Programs, Bill Verbakel. Bill's joining us from his home office in Wallaceburg, Ontario, where much of the Impact Nations magic happens. And Bill and I work very closely together every day. Very closely together from several thousand kilometers apart. Also returning to the show, Adam Powell. In addition to being the lead pastor of Calvary Berry Church in Ontario, Adam's served as a board member with Impact Nations for several years and has led many of our journeys of compassion. We've got Craig Stevens. He's a current board member, Journey of Compassion leader. Actually, Craig and I are going to be together with many others in Pakistan in just a few weeks. But also, I should say that by far, Craig is the coolest Australian on today's panel, bar none.
Thank you. I'll wear that badge proudly. And if I disappear during the panel, it's because I went to Andrew's birthday as well.
Don't tease me. That'd be so amazing.
And finally, I am super excited to welcome a pair of first-time contributors to this show, Jill and Josie Shepherd. Jill and Josie are coming to us from two different cameras in two different rooms in the same house in Minnesota, very cold Minnesota in February. They are frequent journeyers. They've seen God move really powerfully in the field, but they've also seen the powerful and miraculous provision of God for going on journeys of compassion. So we're looking forward to hearing all about that. Josie, did you know, I believe you are our youngest ever guest on the Impact Nations podcast. Welcome.
Ooh.
That's probably a record you'll hold for quite some time. So we're so thankful to have you. Actually, Josie, maybe I'll start with you. I would be really interested to know when you go on a journey of compassion, and maybe you're telling one of your family or friends for the first time that you're going on a journey. How do you describe a journey of compassion to somebody who's never heard of one?
Well, I tell them what we do. We give water, sometimes do medical clinics, pray for people. And yeah, I tell them about about previous trips I've been on and how I've seen God work. So, yeah.
Awesome. Jill, you are a frequent journeyer. You and I have traveled a few times together, and I'm sure you've traveled with just about all of these guys. But you have been bringing Josie. Josie, how old are you now?
12.
12? And how old were you when you went on your first journey of compassion? Do you remember?
I was 10.
10, yeah. And that was in the Philippines, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I remember a number of us were on that team. It was a big team. I think we had 18 kids on that trip,
Yeah.
Which was amazing. Jill, why do you think it's important? Talk to parents out there. Why is it important to get your kids going on, whether it's a journey of compassion or some other missions opportunity, foreign missions opportunity?
Well, there's all the things that people think about with mission trips, serving God and being on a team, but there's a whole bunch of other things that people don't think about. One of them, to start off with, is just the provision. Like, we didn't really have the funds to go, so we had to raise the money, and that was a new experience, and it was work. We had to write a letter, stuff envelopes, do that whole thing, and then just wait and see what was going to happen. Getting ready for the trip was a great experience. I mean, Josie had just turned 10, so it was like, reading the instructions, getting the things that we needed, navigating an airport. So now, Josie, when we go to an airport, I say, we're in the airport, we're in the door. Now you got to get us through this airport. How are you going to do it? So like the first time I think I, showed her how to do it. But now it's like, okay, you tell me, how are we going to get through this airport? And, changes and different layovers and different things like that. So, just navigating that is a good experience. And I will share, one time Josie was worried about that we were going to have a hangover. But I said, no, it's a layover at an airport. So that was kind of a funny joke that we had for such a long time, because she was telling people that we were having hangovers at the airport. Anyway, we got through that.
This is awesome.
A huge thing, though, 2 times going on trips, we have had our luggage be lost. And the one time was for 5 days. So it was like a really important experience for Josie about overcoming and doing without, making the best of a difficult situation and pressing through. Like, it was a big deal. She was 11 on that particular trip, and that was hard. And there's just a lot of things, like, we've been places where there's really icky bathrooms, working through that. It's like, okay, what are you going to do? How are you going to deal with this? And it's been so awesome to see Josie just grow in leadership. She learned how to do water, filter presentations, and went out without me doing that. Oh, and also, for kind of a trust thing, for us with the team, is that I was not feeling well on a couple of the trips at a day or two, and she went out with you guys without me. And it was just great. She did fine, but leaving mom in a foreign country is kind of a big deal. So it's a very maturing experience. And in addition to just seeing God work, it's wonderful.
That's really good, and that's a bunch of things that, yeah, you're right. They're not the obvious things, but those experiences are so huge for just helping your kids to mature and grow up and have some experiences that they would never otherwise have. And by the way, Josie, well done on navigating airports. Your next challenge is Charles de Gaulle Airport in Paris, France. It is impossible to navigate, and if you can do that, you definitely win a prize. It's my least favorite airport on the planet. Craig, you were on that team with us in the Philippines. That was May of 23. We had a lot of kids. I'm happy to say that my kids were very well behaved at all times and never said anything atrocious. What are some of you? Yes, exactly. Yeah, we're not going there. But what would you say to parents who maybe they just heard Jill list some of those things that they hadn't thought of? They're like, oh my goodness, my kid could have to, navigate an airport, or, maybe there's a day that I can't join the team and I need to go or I need to send my kid out. You got any thoughts on how to calm some of those fears?
Yeah, I got lots of thoughts. First of all, when I grow up, I want to be like Josie. That's my
Yes, me
first
too.
thought. Who is just a spectacular human being, and I love traveling with you, Josie. Yeah, I remember we had, I think, we had 3 10-year-olds on that trip to the Philippines, because I had one of them as well, and it was a spectacular opportunity. When I was listening to Jill and Josie share just then, quickly came into mind a conversation that we'd had with a friend or a ministry peer of ours a couple of years back, and she had done the hard yards of following up on her peers who had adult children who were flourishing in their Christian journey, who were flourishing in their walk with Jesus. And so she went and found the parents of those, 20 something, 30 something year old, I think they were 20 somethings, who were just going off in ministry and doing great things. And she said, "Oh, what did you do to help your young person just flourish in that?" And there were a bunch of answers that came back, but consistently every single one had the one answer that was the same. They had taken their young person on a missions trip before they'd made it into high school or around their early high school age, every one of them. And so roll the clock forward 15, 20 years, and these people are leading ministries, are running ministries, are flourishing in their walk with Jesus. And I thought, isn't that intriguing that to give yourself away in a global mission setting is one of those factors, or the common factor that those in ministry today had in common. So, that's a probably something we could learn from there, and always an opportunity for parents to get kids involved in doing the stuff of the kingdom. It is fun being a dad with, I had three kids with me on our trip to the Philippines, and, the experiences that they are able to have, the things that they see in the kingdom, of the kingdom released, particularly in healing miracles that you just can't unsee, that get embedded in and get learnt into a young person's life is fascinating. But there's always the stretch, when we're confronted by extreme poverty or disaster, or we were ministering in a nation that's struck by typhoons and cyclones and so on, and that confronting reality of the world is a dangerous place, and particularly some nations quite dangerous. To have young people navigate that and to do that as a discipling thing with a mum and a dad, to sort of coach through, now what are you seeing, what does this mean, what is our response. My own spiritual father, Tim, your dad, Papa Steve we call him, did exactly that thing with me. My first journey of compassion, I was in the beggars colony in India, and seeing things that I'd never seen before of the poorest of the poor on the earth. And your dad said to me, "Now, Craig, you can't unsee that now. You've seen it now. You can't unsee it now. What's our response?" And hence, well, we're moved with compassion. And these are the sorts of things that kids learn, that parents get to disciple and participate in journeys of compassion, that I think shape us for the better and for, in kingdom rhythms in our ongoing journeys. So those were some of the thoughts that I had in listening to my hero Josie share on her experiences with the JOC.
Yeah, that's fabulous. Heather, you've got a journey coming up this summer. You're leading a trip to Uganda, and you're bringing one of your kids with you, aren't you?
Yes. Abby is coming for her second time, and her first trip was 2 years ago. She was 13 at the time. And I think one of the best parts that I noticed, and Abby would resonate with this from what she shared with me, is the intersection of prayer and practical that she got to experience. Abby was able to pray and hear from God herself on whether she was supposed to go on the trip. And so just that piece of discipleship of hearing God's voice and following him, and then to go and be able to serve the most vulnerable. So for her to make the connection of, I prayed and I got to hear God speak, and then he sent me where he already is. He is here with the most vulnerable, and that's actually why he invited me. And that to me is just so profound at 13 years old, to be able to make that connection and have that experience. And now she's going again to Uganda this summer with both Andrew and I, which is exciting. And she again prayed about it, and actually it was about a week or two after praying that she sensed God saying, "Yes, it's time to go again. Come join me." So I highly recommend bringing your kids. And we've had kids like Josie's 10. We've had kids even younger than that. I think it's just, up to you on that decision. But it is something you will, from every story I've heard, including my own personal story, you will not regret bringing your kids with you. It's a powerful, it's a profound experience. And I think that it's actually transformational.
Amen. Adam, we spent a lot of time a few episodes ago talking about journeys. You told some incredible stories of some of your first journeys and seeing God move in really powerful ways. As a pastor, I'm sure you get approached by other organizations or you have other missions partners and things like that around the world. I know you guys are part of a large national denomination and things like that. What do you think it is about journeys of compassion specifically? Because we've been talking a little bit about missions trips as a concept, right? And that would be a familiar concept to most people that have spent any time in the church. Journeys of compassion are, I would think, unique compared to many other missions trips. As a pastor, what are some of the key features of a journey of compassion that have you continuing to promote them and bring teams with you from your church?
I would say that I've always found, I've always experienced that journeys of compassion is like, it's like the most successful, and it's probably the best ways that I know how to make disciples. It's I mean, every single trip that we have gone on, when just like the leading up to it, and we do the training, and we've had meetings, and we've done videos together, and on like chats like this, and you always there's it every single trip. Hey, let's do a missions trip here. Oh, I want to come, but finances. I want to come, but and then just the excuses come out, and I always just tell people like, hey, wherever you're at, like, let's just partner our faith together and get to the next step. And every single time when we've done that, people always come back from the journeys of compassion, be like, oh, I remember when, like, 12 months ago when we announced this journey, I used finances as an excuse to try to cop out, and then Adam's like, hey, let's partner our faith together and believe God to meet that need, and this is how we did. Like, it's like, oh, I don't think I can pray for like, I have a hard time saying grace at my table, and I'm gonna go pray with strangers. Like, oh, but then I went on this journey of compassion, and it was like, by the end of the week, like, nobody was passing us by without us offering prayer. And I never thought I could share my testimony. Like, do I even have a yeah, but then I was on this journey of compassion, and I got thrown into the lion's den, and God gave me the words to speak, and it changed this person's life, and we led these people to Jesus, and these people got healed. Like, it's such a beautiful way to take all of our worries, our doubts, our fears, our negative kind of mindsets, our little faith, and it's always been wonderful opportunities with an incredible amount of fruit being produced and growth in just who people are in Christ and what he's called us to be. And so I think for that reason alone, that's why I keep trying to bring groups with me out when we go on these, because I can't. There's just something about getting away and being immersed in it, and just very prayer focused, very intentional to make sure that your day starts just walking in that closeness with God, and having his strength, and then being in a group of like-minded people, worshiping and traveling on a bus and praying together. And man, like, every single person that has gone on a journey of compassion. They come back bigger, better, more equipped. They love Jesus more. Their eyes are more opened to, you know, the possibilities and the supernatural. And it's hard to measure that stuff. It's literally polar opposites. So I don't. That's kind of a loaded answer for why we keep doing it. It just keeps changing lives, right? It's like that classic saying, like, you know, I'm going on a missions trip and I'm gonna bless them. I'm sure you are a blessing, but oh, you come home way more blessed, you know, than what you put out every single time.
So good. Yeah. Bill, you just heard Adam listing off some of the typical objections or shall we call them barriers that people tend to sometimes imagine or assume are there. And, you know, there's Jill brought it up first, actually, just the navigating an airport. Again, Josie, awesome that you were learning that skill, because there are many. Bill, I don't know if we've lost anybody in an airport yet, but we've certainly come close. Airports can be very difficult to navigate. So it's the fear of international travel. It is fear of flying itself. It could be definitely finances as a thing. Training. Will I know what to do when I get there? All of those things. Craig's got a point.
Yeah, look, you're about to ask Bill about this, but I think it was Bill that scheduled us to have a 2 a.m. flight in the Philippines internally, where we mobilized 18 kids in the middle of the night to get
You're welcome.
to airport.
Well, he was at home in bed.
If we were going to lose someone at an airport, it was going to be on that flight.
I don't know if this will have to get edited out of the podcast later, but we might not have lost people in an airport. But when we went on the JOC to Mexico and we had to walk across the border, we almost lost somebody then.
I didn't even hear about that one.
That's why we have the 80% rule, isn't it? I mean,
we'll just leave it to your imagination, Tim.
Yeah, it's probably better I don't know, but I think I can safely. I think I can safely say we have not lost one yet. I think we've always come home with 100% of the people. At least the head count is the same. If they're the same people or not, I'm not sure, but at least the head count is the same.
And that's after 20 years. So that's a good.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty good for 20 years.
Pretty good.
That's right. That's it.
Bill, what are some of the things that you've put in place? You worked really, really hard with software and just documentation and stuff. Well, you've got answers for pretty much every one of those objections that might come your way.
yeah, I mean, it starts with communication, right? Like just being upfront with people, having a place for them to go and share those concerns. And one of the things we've done most recently is actually adding in the opportunity for the entire team to have a group chat together. A good example of this. So just recently, we've got a lot of people coming into the Pakistan group chat because that's coming up soon. And on the weekend, I'm not working, right? I love what I do. I love serving people, but I need some family time and some time away from those chats as well. So I turn off my notifications. And I come in today and I see all of these. Well, it wouldn't be today when this releases. It's Monday for me when I'm recording. But I come in and I see all these messages from people that were supporting each other as it relates to the visa application. Now, we provide a document and multiple levels of communication to provide all the information people need for where to go, how to do it, walk you through as much as we possibly can without doing it for you. And sometimes we even do that. But when they find that they're struggling, the first place they go now is to that group chat and they share the concern, they share what they're struggling with, and people start just helping. And it's not me doing it, which is incredible because when you got big teams, it's really hard to be attentive to that many people with the same question. But when you have everyone sharing knowledge in that one space and supporting each other, getting to know one another, it develops team right from the start. And so, yeah, we've got a whole bunch of things in place to make your life easy while you register. While you're getting ready for the trip, we're dripping out emails with information as we go along. And it's really hard for people to imagine all the things that they're going to want to know. And so we've done our best with that. We've tried to get in front of all of those objections, those concerns as it relates to kind of the logistics of the trip. But there will always be things that people either have uncertainty around, or they didn't fully read through because there's just so much to look at, right? Like you might have read it, but you don't retain everything. It's a lot of information. So we make it easy for people to connect with us and with others on the team who maybe have already done that step in the process or have been on trips before, and then they can collectively get the information they need and share that information.
Yeah, so good. Jill, one of the reasons I asked you and Josie to be a part of our panel today was because one of these objections that we are met with, and Adam alluded to it first, is the finances, because it is expensive to get on a plane and fly across the globe and go and bring medicine and clean water to people who are in desperate need. You are, I think, our top fundraiser when it comes to raising funds amongst your friends and family for Journeys of Compassion, and I know that mostly because pretty much every check that comes in, I approve all of the, I classify those bits of revenue and things like that, and the number of times I see written in a memo on a check, for Jill and Josie's journey to wherever they're going next, right? It's kind of a fun game. I know where Jill and Josie are going to be next based on what's scribbled at the bottom of the check. What's been the response of friends and family when you share your vision for a journey of compassion? And I guess that's a question for Jill, but I'd love to hear Josie's thoughts on it too.
Okay. So I kind of had a vision already for what it was going to take to raise the kind of funds that we needed. I don't remember the exact dollar for that first trip, but let's say it was $9,000 or something like that. Maybe it was 10. That's a lot of money, and that's with the airfare too. And so I thought, I am going to take everyone that I know, and on my Christmas card list, and then I just expanded it and wrote one letter, just one, to everybody gets the same letter, and mailed it out. Now, something that helps these days, like Tim is talking about getting checks, really, a lot of people don't want to send a check, right? So things that can help is Bill will help you with this. If you ever need a QR code that will go right to the website that Impact Nation sets up for you, part of your registration is you plug in a few little pieces of information and you get a little website portal with Impact Nations. And so people can just scan a little code and give online just like they do for any other charitable event. And people are excited about it. Like, they were thrilled to hear about it, to know about it, especially the first trip. That trip, we raised the entire amount. And I'm not sure if all journeyers know that you can actually raise the money for your airfare too. And then you kind of set it up yourself, but Bill will call then the airline where you have a reservation and pay that for you out of your funds that you have raised. I think that's something that maybe sometimes people don't understand. But it kind of takes a big blanket to make it work. Like, I mean, you might get really fortunate and have somebody give you $5,000 or something like that. But, for the people that just don't do anything, it's just a stamp. So asking is the main thing. And we were right at the end, we weren't quite 100%. So then I put a post on Facebook and we went over the top. So it's mainly just about asking. And if you can get ahead of it by having a list, and if you're thinking, well, I want to go on a trip in a year, start your spreadsheet right now, because it sneaks up on you. And if you have it all together, then you can do it. Social media is great. You can use social media like a big dog, but I think a letter in the mail is good.
Yeah, and actually, one of the things that's new in our system Jill, that you might not even got to experience yet is something we have is the Journey Savings Account. And it's been around for a little while where people can kind of save up for a trip by giving monthly or once in a while drop some funds in. And we keep that for them so that they can register for a journey with those funds. But with the system we're using now, we recently transitioned. It now allows us to have that link you're talking about as a fundraiser link that you can be giving out for, hey, it's my birthday coming up. If you're thinking about getting me something, here's the link to the fundraiser I'm doing so that I can go on a trip soon. I don't know which one yet, but I know I want to go. I'm committed to that. And here's my link. And really great for kids because grandparents and friends, Christmas comes and, we got way more stuff than we ever need. So, hey, a $50 gift, great. It'll go in my Journey Savings account and it builds up over time. And so, yeah, you can set it up monthly as an individual, but I think the gift aspect is huge because I think people are over stuff. A lot of people are tired of having more stuff and they want to be able to give to something meaningful for your birthday. And knowing that they're doing that, I think is really powerful. So that's one of the tools we now have that people can take advantage of. And you're right. I love the QR code idea because that's a big thing for people that are getting something in the mail to be able to scan that quickly and then just make your gift and away you go.
I think something important to add on to this conversation that I've just found to be really fruitful in letting people know where we're going on these journeys. And I think, Jill, I think you said it, or it might have been Tim in the segue over to you. Share about the vision of the trip. I mean, there's a saying in my world, money follows vision. And I think it's so important if we're going to be going on journeys of compassion. Like, there's a couple things that come to my head, but like, share the vision on why we are going. And what I have discovered, like I when you were talking about sending out letters to your Rolodex and just asking, right? We have not because we ask not, kind of thing, right? And I remember it was, I think, our journey of compassion to Haiti. There was 1, 2, 3, 4. There was 5 of us, I think, going on that trip. And I just stood up, in the church on that Sunday morning, and it's not like, hey, we're going on a missions trip. Can you help? It's like, no, we're going to Haiti. Like, it's one of the hardest stricken countries in our atmosphere. And a year ago, they just had the earthquake. And we're going down and we're partnering with on the ground ministries and on the ground pastors. And there's areas that we're going to that don't have clean drinking water. Hey, did you know that we can get these water filters into this community, and that within 3 days of clean drinking water, it alleviates headaches and joint pain and kidney pain, all because of just clean drinking water? And it's not just doing a practical thing. We're going to be preaching the gospel, and we're going to be like, when you cast the vision of what we're not just going on this trip, but this is what we're doing, and this is what we're expecting to see God do. And what I found, people like, take my money. Like, that's actually a really great cause. When we cast the vision for people, like, the money is going to follow it. And so when we got up on that Sunday and said, we felt like God was moving in our hearts, and here's how he did it, and here's where the confirmation did, but here's what we're going to do. And at the end of the service, some lady pulled me aside and she's like, I love that. Here you go. And she bought all 5 flights of the team going down to Haiti in one check. Wow. And so it's just like, you never know who's listening to the stories that we're sharing. And trusting God that he's our provider, obviously that's a huge one. But what I've found, it's not just asking people, hey, I'm going on a missions trip. It's casting that vision. What can your dollars do? And if we just elaborate on that and share the story and unpack it, and then of course come back and give the best rock star report you can possibly do,
that's huge.
Then you might get them on the next one again.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, what you're really saying, good, Adam, I mean, the reality is you're not asking them for money. You're inviting them into kingdom work. You're inviting them into the story. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
partnering. They're a
Yeah.
part of this because we need people on the ground. We need people at home praying. We need people funding. Like it's all so important. It's all part of the kingdom. And reality is money doesn't mean anything to God. He doesn't care. How much do you need? Okay. Let's talk to those people.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
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 Absolutely.
It's so
The
good.
Heather, I'm
hospitality.
interested to
Oh,
know.
go ahead.
I'm aware Heather's time is short today, but Heather, what have you seen as you've been casting vision? And I don't know. Here's a secondary question that interests me, which is you've been on many journeys. You've brought others on journeys. Does it? How do you find fresh ways of casting vision when it's like we're going on another journey of compassion and there could be some eyes rolled like, yeah, okay, well, we know what you do on journeys sort of thing. We've heard the pitch. How do you keep that fresh? What have you seen God do as a result of casting that vision? And I'd be interested to know kind of what's the vision that you're casting for this upcoming trip to Uganda that's coming up in a few months?
Yeah, I mean, I think first of all, keeping it fresh is simply, have you gone yet? And it's to me, it's the most exciting adventure is to be invited by God to go somewhere that he's working. And to me, whether that is like just a few days ago, there was someone near our church. It's beyond freezing here at the time on that day. She's homelessness, and I had an extra blanket in my car, and I went and gave her a blanket, which she really appreciated. We had a wonderful conversation. That was me joining God in helping bring warmth to the cold, right? And how amazing that God could do that, and yet he invites us to join him. So for me, that's my continual invitation, whether it's locally or globally. You are co-workers with God. And that's amazing. So that's really in many ways how I cast vision is join God on his mission. It is not our mission. It's God's mission, and he has a church that he's invited to join him in it. As far as casting vision for this trip to Uganda, um, I like to find out the details of the trip and make it like imagine you in a canoe. I could make a poem out of this, but I won't. Um, in a canoe, going over to an island to serve people that don't have any access to healthcare. And you, in your canoe, are bringing medicines that could change their and even save their lives. Imagine
Heather,
you
you
imagine
just reminded me of an objection, but I'm not a medical person,
and
right?
to
We
that,
get that a lot.
right. And to that, neither am I, and you do not want me to be.
Yeah.
But neither are there's a lot of medical people that aren't coordinators and administrators. And this is the beauty of the kingdom of God is everyone's invited to the table. There's somebody who makes the food, there's somebody who harvests the food, there's somebody who makes it, there's someone who's the prep cook to the person behind the recipes, and all of that culminates in us sitting down at the table together and eating this meal. And so, I think too in 1 Corinthians 12, 13, 14, that some of us are the big toes like me, and other of us are, the heartbeat, like, and so we are one body with many parts. And I think that that's for me is a good description of the journey of compassion. So like kind of to summarize, I like to find out more details about the trip and then put that before people. Can you imagine? Can you, and take people kind of through a journey as they contemplate, what I do want to join God there. And so did I answer your questions?
Yes, absolutely. And I think one of the things is that, inviting people to come, whether they're coming physically and getting on a plane with you and being a part of that team, or coming by giving financially, you're not asking for money. You're just inviting them into participating in the kingdom, to do what they were made to do to begin with. And that's so powerful.
One of the things I would just add really quick is the ground costs help us do what we do in country. So knowing that, like, us raising funds right now for Abby, that her ground costs are going towards helping buy the medications, helping, with the different ways, like, that's really profound to me as well. And I think as a way to talk about vision, is the ground costs actually help bring the food, the water filters, the medicines, etc.
Not just food and medicine and water filters, but it also creates jobs for the 10 to 12, 14 days we're on the grounds, because our interpreters, they get paid, right? So it's a lot bigger than just paying our hotel room.
Right.
Even our doctors and stuff, a lot of times now, and this is a call out to those doctors and nurses and medical professionals of all kinds, pharmacists. We need you. We want you to join us, because we've been relying very heavily on local doctors and nurses, which is not a problem, but we're certainly looking for folks to travel with us to have those skills. But when we have less of them and we have to rely on more local staff, we do pay them honorariums. I won't say we pay them a day's wage, because they're worth more than we can give them, but we give them something as a thank you, and it contributes to their families and what they're doing.
Yeah. Jill, on that point of reporting back, like, you must be doing a good job of that, because I just can see internally, I can see that many of the same people will give again to your next journey of compassion. What are some of your tricks for telling the story after the fact? We've talked about casting vision ahead of time in order to help raise those funds and enlist people in your journey and in participating in the mission that we're all called to. But after the fact, when you get home, or even while you're there, how are you keeping people in the loop? How do they know what their giving did?
So first of all, I send, even before that, when somebody gives, I send a thank you card right away. And something that people can do, is start, if they want to handwrite them, you can start doing that even before people give, so that they're ready. You can just put their name on it and send it out. It's just kind of nice. Like, I think I had 60 people or more, maybe 70 even give. That's a lot of thank you cards. So if you can anticipate the card ahead of time, just start writing them right away. But and then I send out a card when we're going that says, okay, here's when we're going. Because, some people gave several months ago, because we start many months ahead of time. So it's like, okay, maybe the day we go, I schedule it to go out, actually, so that they'll get it, like, as we're arriving in the country. And it's just asking for prayer and sharing again what we're doing, and that they're part of us on that trip. And then I try to make posts on social media to say, this is what we're doing, if it's appropriate. Not every place that we go would it work to be able to do that, but lots of places it is, and people are excited to see what we're doing, and feel like they're along, with us somewhat, at least, on the trip. And then when we get home, I do write a letter that talks about what we did, thanks them again, encourages them to go on a trip in the future too, or to come with us next time on our next journey of compassion.
Craig, you have a sizable family like me, and you were on that same trip that we were on in the Philippines, which means you had a lot of money to raise. Can you just talk to me maybe about the emotional journey of recognizing the need, walking in faith, but holding on to that faith on the days when it feels like the provision isn't coming in the time that you would have liked, or whatever?
Yeah, I've got to say, I've taken a great deal of inspiration from you, Tim, in your journey, like your promotion of this wonderful privilege of ministering with Impact Nations. is your bread and butter every day. And so, people are familiar with your role leading this movement, but then when you have to pull again with a whole family to get there, it's almost like, wow, how did you do that? And for us, a family of five, considering that opportunity was, we backed, my wife and I backed ourselves into a corner. We gave our kids as a Christmas present a little flyer that said, "You're going on a JOC to the Philippines with us." That's our Christmas present to everyone.
You were committed.
And then it was like, oh, quick, paddle really, really fast to make this Christmas present work. Wasn't it a beautiful thing, though, that Adam gave us earlier on in the Zoom with a pastor who will just add his faith to us to go, you know what? I got this much faith. I'm really hoping, I'm trusting, oh, God, please. And then, oh, no, my pastor, my friend, my colleague, my whatever, just bringing their faith to that story just enhances, our ability to see God, release in this context finances. One of the most beautiful stories, my brother-in-law had been at an Impact Nations weekend and probably heard Papa Steve say, "Hey, come with us into the mission fields." And at the time, there were two trips that were coming up. One of those trips was to Bulgaria, and another trip was to the Philippines. And my brother-in-law, who's doing the maths and going, there's no way I can do a European trip from Oz, but maybe we could afford the Philippines trip. Actually, there's no way we can afford that. He's like, I just feel the compulsion to go and partner with Impact Nations to bring the gospel, to bring the kingdom, to see those in the most difficult situations, to see the kingdom come for them. He felt the compulsion, and at best he's like, oh, maybe I can go after this trip that's going to be a little bit more financially accessible. And the Lord says to him, no, you're going to the trip into Bulgaria. Heather, your husband, came with us on that particular trip. Andrew was there. Anyway, my brother-in-law, Nige, he's like, oh, Lord, I don't know. And just starts the journey, just puts his faith into, I'm going to start asking the questions. And his story is that he so overshot the fundraising goal that he was able to bless into that nation, the ministry partners there or whatever, with all the excess finance that he had collected just by people wanting to just cheer him on. On that same trip, a young guy who was unemployed, long-term unemployed, and never ever sat on an airplane before, never been on a trip anywhere, not even interstate. He stood up with that conviction. No, I want to give myself to the mission and to join Impact Nations. He stood up in front of his church. He said, I'm going to this mission trip with Impact Nations. I'm going to sell slices and cake at morning tea after church every Sunday for the next few weeks. And I thought, mate, if you're selling slice and cake, you're going to be doing that for the next 50 years to raise the funds for this trip. Do you know what? Within 2 weeks, he had raised the entire thing because people just saw his heart.
Wow.
And they saw he's a young man who's really got no resource but really wants to go on mission. And these friends, his peers, his church just went, oh, we got to pull together for that. And resource and funding came. And it's oftentimes where you least expect it, Adam, it's that check from that lady who says, your whole team, I'm covering the flights. It's like, God is no man's debtor, and faith pleases him. Like, it just delights him. It's like, oh, here we go. I got something to work with. And so, find someone who'll join your faith and with, your faith with theirs and believe God for it. Because you can overshoot that fundraising goal, and that's a good thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
I also think it's worth mentioning too, like I'm so encouraged to hear about coffee and cake at church anytime. I don't care what it's for. I just think that's a beautiful thing. But
And
uh,
good
it's
right now.
something that like, hey, let's believe God to meet the need. Sometimes he's going to meet that need through the generosity of other people. Sometimes he's going to meet that need through the hard work of baking a cake and getting the coffee brewed and serving people. And I think God works the both end in a lot of times. And I think when it comes to going on a journey of compassion, um, it's not necessarily waiting for God to move in our lives once we get in country. He wants to start moving in our lives and in our hearts as we are fundraising for this journey of compassion. I'll give
Yeah.
you a really kind of silly little illustration just from my own life in this last month. I was hanging out at New Year's Eve with some friends, and in our church, we decided, hey, we're going to take the first week of 2026 to just fast and pray, and somebody said, I was thinking about fasting coffee for a month. I'm like, that is so easy in my heart, right? And just so judgmental. I could do that. And then I just heard God say, oh, really? Right? And I'm like, it wasn't even on my radar. Uh, I mean, like, we all love coffee, but I don't brew mine at home a lot. I frequent a Canadian coffee shop that has terrible coffee, but I'm just addicted. And so the month of January, I fasted buying coffee. Do you know how much money I saved in 1 month of brewing it at home instead of
Mm.
buying it twice a day at this pathetic coffee chain? And if I did that for a year and just put purchased coffee money, half of my ground flight or ground fare would be covered, right? So I think God, he will work through casting vision and through other people's wallets and the partnership. And I think he works through hard work and creativity of how can I, sell some stuff and get, but he also, hey, maybe there's some things, Adam, that I want to cut out of your life now to prepare you for that trip. And in doing that, so like, I think it's a whole, bunch of stuff,
Yeah.
and it's not necessarily in the future, but it's the present.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
It's
beautiful.
definitely both and, I reckon. And
Mhm.
one of those things for us was car washes,
Mm.
Yeah,
we just gathered our community tables and our house churches and said, all right, we're doing car washes. We're going to raise funds, $10 a car wash. Because when you got, you know, 12-year-olds washing a car, you got no guarantee that that car's any cleaner than when it came to you. But okay, but 32 cars into a car wash and you are really feeling it, right? But one of our neighbours goes, I know that you're raising funds for Impact Nations. Here's the $1,000 for that car to be washed. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
no, we put our elbow grease. We're scrubbing these cars, but it also released favour as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so good. It's really important to remember that, yeah, when you're creating these small fundraising activities, car washes, selling cakes, whatever it is, what you're really doing is actually just providing a platform to tell your story, to cast that vision that you guys were talking about earlier. It's attracting a crowd, essentially, creating a space to tell that story. Because yeah, you're right. At $10 a car, you'd have to wash a whole lot of cars to get yourself on a journey of compassion. But really, you are going to see again and again people respond with generosity as they get an opportunity just to hear you share that story. Heather, what Adam just said was really powerful in terms of just pastoring people even through their own journey of seeing what God is doing in their lives as he's calling them to go to the world and bring the good news. How have you and Andrew had opportunities to kind of pastor people through the decision-making process of, are you going to go on this journey? Now that you've committed, how are you going to get your butt on that plane and get over there and raise all this funds? Have you guys found pastorally that there's opportunity there?
Yes, I've heard it said before that the journey of compassion starts before the journey of compassion. So the journey of compassion, really, it does begin with that discernment process. And we teach a lot about discerning in community, and that God, he can speak he can speak however he wants, including just, hey, go. Um, and then also in many places in scripture, uh, also with the go, and through just practical, what are you doing this summer? Oh, you're a teacher and you have the summer off and it's a good time for you to go. God can speak through that too. This is a good time for me to go. So part of it in our pastoring is just coming alongside in the discernment process of hearing God speak. And then, yes, faith to me is synonymous with trust. And so when I notice, and Andrew too notices, someone's just struggling in that faith in God, he invited me to go. He's going to provide for me, but we're 2 months out from going, and I still need to raise, another, $2,000, whatever it might be, to be able to say, you know, what is God doing in your heart right now around trusting Him, and invite them to lean into that, because it's like God is always up to so much more than what we think He is. And so it ends up being just really, really powerful. In fact, maybe it's crazy to say this, I'm not sure, but I pastor a church called Crazy Love Church, so it's kind of up my alley. But we have found that a lot of people are actually experience emotional healing in this process, because they might discover, like, in that process of discernment, and then in that process of trusting God, they might say, is when they lean into that and say, God, yeah, I am struggling to trust you, and I'm basically worried you're not going to do this. And then it's like, okay, where does that come from? And they can actually point back to, like, what, 10 years ago such and such thing happened, and that's actually where this is coming from. And it's like, okay, let's talk about that.
Wow.
So it ends up being just transformational, emotionally and mentally as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things, Heather, that I've noticed as well is, like, you talked a lot, and Adam too, about, like, actually just listening to God. Like, God, is this you? Like, do you want me to go? And sometimes people will hear directly from God themselves, right? I've had it personally when I was early in my journey of compassion years, where I was hearing nothing. Actually, I'm pretty sure it was the Bulgaria trip that you and I were on together in training, Heather, years ago. And I actually said to my wife and some of the folks in my community, "Hey, will you pray for me about this?" And because I'm not getting nothing. I'm asking the very specifically, am I supposed to go? I'd been going every year on a trip, and frankly, almost all of them were paid for in full by generosity of others. So we'll add that in there. But the reality was, I wasn't getting anything, and I wanted to go, but I didn't want it to be just me. I wanted to know that God was calling me to this, to His thing. And so it was really interesting that when I asked them to pray, my wife and a good friend of ours, they both had visions that made it more than evident that I was supposed to be there. And so God will work through others, maybe your pastor, maybe your friend. If you're not sure, maybe I didn't have enough faith to ask right. I don't know. But whatever it was, God wanted to use them. And what I've learned in that is He's actually blessing them, because now they're an instrument in the story. And they were part of the reason why you said yes, because it's like God used them to confirm, yeah, you're supposed to go. And so now they're being brought into that. It boosts their faith and their confidence because they're hearing from God, and it's a whole community thing. It's incredible.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah.
And I know Heather might jump out, so I want to make sure that Josie has a chance to share a really cool thing that God did in her life. And Heather was a part of that. So go ahead, Josie, and share that.
Well, cool. Okay. Yeah. So that was actually going to be one of my questions for Josie, was what's one of your favorite stories to share from your experiences? So let's hear that one.
I think my favorite thing was probably getting baptized in Malawi. That was really cool. I wasn't expecting to do that, but one of the people on that mission trip, told me that he was going to get baptized, and he knew I had never been baptized, so he asked if I wanted to get baptized. So 2 other people and I got baptized. And that was really cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that was so special. I got to officiate that, if you will, and it was just like somebody pinch me,
Yeah.
like the honor to be a part of that.
I
Amazing.
think it was that same trip, Josie, that I remember you getting up on a stage in front of a few hundred people and sharing a testimony of healing that day too.
Yes.
Just imagine. I guess you would have been what, 11 or
11.
something?
Yeah.
Standing up in front of a bunch of people, just
Mm.
sharing how God
Wow.
used you to heal people in the community. And I mean, I gotta say, people are moved by that. People are touched, and God uses that.
Yeah. That's so powerful.
Amen.
I love it. Well, guys, our time is coming to a close, but thank you so much. You guys, I believe that the stories we've heard today and these words of wisdom will really be a great encouragement and challenge to others who maybe they're on the fence right now and they're not sure and they'd like to go, but they're, concerned about the finances or the how to navigate an airport. And you, each and every one of you guys, has brought encouragement today and some challenge, even some conviction, I would say. Man, Adam, yeah, maybe a few less trips to the coffee shop and suddenly that plane ticket is within reach. That's pretty convicting stuff, actually. So thank you, each and every one of you guys, and thank you for journeying with us. I mean, honestly, I've had the pleasure of being on a journey of compassion with you guys, and I just love it.
I think most of you know my story. Like when it comes to journeys of compassion or trying to find a nice way to say no to Steve, I pray for God to give me excuses. I pray for his no's more than I pray for his yeses, because for me, God's no's are sometimes louder than his yeses, right? And I find, like, if we're always praying to hear God tell us yes, sometimes that's a little tricky to navigate, at least for me. So sometimes I'm like, hey, God, like, I really don't want to do this. I want an out. Speak clearly. And if the no's not clear, then it usually is a yes, right? Or you decide and I'm going to go with you, whatever direction that is. And so I don't know if that helps people navigate the praying thing. I think sometimes they're always waiting for a yes, and maybe seeking God for a no and not getting that is the yes. I don't know. I'm weird. That's the way God works in
I
my
love
head
that, Adam.
sometimes. And yeah,
No, I love that. That's really great.
cool.
It's coming at it backwards. Yeah, it is good. And
It was
when
my
you
first
went
trip
to India the first
13
was
years
India your
ago
first trip? Have I
last
got
week.
That right? And so you've got yourself into this thing. I loved Craig's story about, they basically were committed once they told the kids, we're going on a journey of compassion. It's like, you're in. At some point you pray and ask for a no and you don't get it, and so you say yes. But then you've got this huge uphill climb in terms of raising those funds.
Oddly enough,
how was that
people
experience
that
for you?
got baptized with Josie in Malawi, we know him. I don't know if we can drop names on this podcast or not, but yeah, well, Luke Brunskill, you
absolutely, he's a listener.
I don't know if you ruined my life or made it better, or a combination
Yeah.
of the both, but whatever it is, I am extremely thankful that you listened to the Holy Spirit and put that invite out. Man, it was 13 years ago, so I am way younger than I am now, and just took on my first position as a lead pastor in the middle of Northern Ontario community. And I had no sweet clue what I was doing. I was preparing in my office for a board meeting and just getting the budget ready. And I look at what the church did for missions the previous year, and all I thought to do was, oh, that's really low. We probably need to budget a little bit more money for that. And in that, praying it through, God says to me, you're going to go on a missions trip next year, and it's going to radically transform your ministry for the rest of your life. And I said, oh, okay, that's great. All right, so we'll give money and we'll go on a trip. Well, if you know Luke Brunskill, like in true Luke Brunskill form, I hear him stomping up the front church steps, and I'm in my office, and he comes in. He's like, "Hey, I got an opportunity to go to India next year, and I want you to come with me." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. Let me pray. Let me pray about it." And he's like, "Great. All right. Well, we'll check back in a couple weeks." Well, Luke must have given me 2 months notice for this journey of compassion to India, and like I just heard God say, you got to go on this trip, or you got to go on a missions trip, and it's going to radically change your life, ministry for the rest of your life. And then 30 seconds later, hey, I got an opportunity to go. I want you to come with me. And then I'm like, I just had like we just moved, and my daughter was like 4 months at the time, and all these excuses started flooding my mind, and then money. I was getting paid $300 a week. Like I don't, and in 2 months, I'm supposed to come up with whatever it was to fly to India and back. And so I'm like, oh, okay, well, if there's any issue or if there's any excuse or hurdle, it's the money card for me. So, but I prayed about it. Like I promised him I would.
Mm-hmm.
I went into the board meeting and I shared them, hey, we want to expand our missions giving as a church. And yeah, that's a great idea. Let's do it. And I also have this opportunity maybe to go to India with Luke, and I'm still praying about it. I'm not sure, if God's in it, but if you guys will pray about it, then that's all I can really do. Fast forward 3.5, 4 weeks, getting ready for our board meeting again, and in my office, I'm just like praying over it, and I came to the conclusion that I was going to tell Luke no because of the finances, and I just couldn't swing it, and chomping up the steps, 20 minutes for my board meeting, knock, knock, knock. Luke Brunskill. Hey, Adam, I meant to ask you a couple weeks ago. You said you were going to pray about it, but you want to go on that journey of compassion to India with me? And I said, well, yeah, actually about that, Luke. You got 30 seconds? He's like, what I forgot to tell you was that when I invited you on that trip, God put it on mine and Megan's heart to cover your ground fare. And I said, oh. And in my head, I'm like, no, all my excuses. They're come back. They're leaving.
There goes my no. I had the perfect excuse.
And then this thought came into my head. Adam, now you only have to worry about a $1,800 airfare. You have made some pretty stupid decisions with your MasterCard for more than $1,800. You could probably justify buying that flight and paying it off. Not that I'm encouraging us to go into debt. I'm just saying, like, this is what God was speaking to me. And so I said, all right, Luke, I got a board meeting in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I'll let you know after the board meeting if it's a go. So I go into my board meeting, and right at the end of the board meeting, they say to me, now, Pastor Adam, you've been pretty quiet about this missions trip. You were kind of excited about it, last month. We don't want this to go. And like, what are your thoughts on it? I said, actually, I don't know. Like, I think I need to go on this trip. They're like, that's what we wanted to hear. We talked about this before the board meeting, and we're going to take up a love offering for your flights. All right. So I was going to use money as an excuse not to go. Then all of a sudden, oh, I forgot to tell you a month ago, I'm covering your ground fare. And then my excuse was the flights, but then I could put it on my credit card. And an hour later, the board's saying we're going to take up a love offering for your flights. And so I always tell people it cost me $50 to go on my first journey of compassion, because that's what I put in my own love offering. So that's how I got on the trip on India. It was me praying for a no, and in that God was speaking so loud and clear the yes. And the last podcast or 2 podcasts ago, I shared about all the incredible things that I seen God do, and I'm like, I want more of that. Not just in my life in a developing country. I want that in my life in my own backyard. And then like, I want this for other people. Like as much as it's changed my life, I want this now for other people. That's why I keep, hey, we're going. You want to come? We're going. You want to come? Like, I just don't want to be selfish with this, right? Freely you've received, now freely give away. And all of us on this podcast, like we're doing this because we got bit by the bug, and it's contagious in the best of ways.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, so that's my story on the first JFC.
Yeah.
Josie had thought a little bit ahead of time about what it was like to just experience a journey. And what were you going to tell this group, Jos?
So I was gonna say that on my first mission trip to the Philippines, it was like, just you're walking down the street and everything's so much different than, you know, back at home. But I remember thinking it was like I was in a Bible story or like on the Chosen TV series, just like seeing everything and the healings and everything. It's really cool. And I think we forget um to pray for people at home just in our everyday lives. Um, and when you're on a mission trip, you pray for people. So I think it's good for us to remember, like, we should pray for people wherever we are.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. That's excellent, Josie. Yeah, absolutely. And that is what we have found again and again and again, is that people suddenly get in the habit of, or maybe realize that it's not nearly as scary as they thought to say, may I pray for you? It's funny how we got to go halfway across the planet to learn that.
Well, I think when we're outside of our comfort zone, like at the end of the trip, we're going home. We might never see these people again. And I don't know, maybe that's sometimes like a confidence booster to take more risk. I don't know. It has been in my life in some situations.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Yeah. And Josie, as you have done those things, as you've walked the streets and asked, may I pray for you, you have discovered that God actually uses you very powerfully, doesn't he?
Yeah, if you want to hear some testimonies, you'll have to jump over to our website, impactnations.com/JOCs, and click that past journeys button, because you'll see some footage of Josie sharing testimonies of God's greatness and when he's been doing healing through her. It's all over the place.
It's so much fun. I love that. Awesome.
Before you close, though, I want to make sure we touch on the fact that Impact Nations now has a really, really effective fundraising free ebook. There's going to be a site that comes up soon with some other resources. It walks you through not just like how to make that ask in partnering with you, but how to prepare your heart. That's actually what it's called, preparing your heart for the ask. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be available on our website if you want to learn more about that aspect, the financial aspect. Well, how do I do it? It lays the whole thing out beautifully. There's some good videos, some interviews that Tim did with our project manager, who's also raised funds for trips. So that's going to be available to everybody, and that they can take advantage of those resources.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And honestly, if you've got any questions about the fundraising process or the onboarding process and what it's like to get ready to go for a journey, Bill is a fantastic resource. Yeah, we've got questions. We've heard all the questions before. Somebody mentioned, we've been doing this for 20 years now. I think we're getting very close to, I think by the end of this year, we will be at 90 journeys of compassion in our histories.
Amazing.
I just want to thank Impact Nations, because Impact Nations has given me something for my daughter in amazing mentors and surrogate parents, and just it's been amazing how they have built into Josie and fed into her. The nobles in Australia, I think about them just loving on my daughter and the things they said to her and how they built her up and just called out of her just this amazing vision. And you just can't get that at home. I feel like, and these relationships, even with the kids that Josie's been on the trips with, have continued. And so it's just been so amazing. So thank you, Impact Nations.
Yeah, Josie, you're still chatting with some of the others that you have journeyed with, eh?
Oh yeah, yep. Yeah.
I remember you guys exploring the hotel in Colombia at one point, and just there really is a wonderful camaraderie amongst the children when they're journeying together. And Josie, I know you and my daughter Hosanna still text each other sometimes and stuff. It really is beautiful, these lasting relationships. So, well, we best go because Andrew's got a party that needs to get finished up. So for Andrew's sake, we're all going to wrap up this conversation as hard as it is. Please say happy birthday to Andrew for us.
Oh, I will.
Yeah, happy birthday, buddy.
Thank you for being with us. Delighted. And I'm coming. He's going to be in Uganda. I'm coming to that Uganda trip too because I really want to hang out with the two of you guys. So it's going to be a blast, and your daughter too. So it's going to be so good. Thank you all. Thank you to our listeners, our viewers, for being with us. This is the Impact Nations podcast. If you've not subscribed, do that. Subscribe on either your favorite audio podcast app or on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, hit that little bell for notifications so you get a notification every time we release a new episode. But also, just I mean, Bill is regularly getting great footage from the field and promotional stuff for journeys. And each and every one of you guys have been featured in our journey wrap-up videos that we do at the end of a journey, just highlighting. And I don't know how he does it, but Bill finds a way to cram like 2 weeks of incredible, miraculous work into 3 minutes of video. It's awesome. So if you subscribe and get notifications on YouTube, you're going to get all of that stuff. But we'll see you again next week for the Impact Nations podcast. We release every Thursday, and we're so thankful for each and every one of you. Please come on a journey, whether it's Uganda, Zimbabwe. I think we're planning a Nicaragua one soon too. So come join us, and you will absolutely see one of these, if not many of these faces on one of those journeys. So thanks so much. God bless. Have a great week.
Thanks, guys.